Welcome to Eye on the Illini. This is Mike Cagley, joined here by Brad Sturdy, Ked Prince, and Steve Sturm. We are going live before number 9 Illinois plays number 5 Nebraska on the road. Illinois going for 11 in a row. The winner will be tied with Michigan in the lead of the Big Ten. But first, Illinois, because Aaron Henry has moved over to become the defensive back coach and co-defensive coordinator at Notre Dame. Now, I have a theory on this. I'm going to let these guys beat me up on it, but I'll tell you what, I think with the escalating nature of this war, which is to get better players and better coaches and the endless increases, I think it may have been tough for Illinois to know exactly where the target zone is for some of the compensation. And with guys like Signetti, who are smart enough to have in the contract that, you know, his coaching pool is going to be in the top 5 in the country, your costs are going up. And to try to stay with the Notre Dames, Ohio States, God forbid, the Indianas and Oregons and Texas, those teams, it's going to be really expensive. Brad, tell us a little bit about what you know about this situation, because this is a pretty quick evolving situation where we're learning on a minute by minute basis.
Well, I think Notre Dame lost people and they needed a replacement, and go look at a guy who can recruit and a guy who has obviously Aaron Henry's known for being an excellent secondary coach. So you go out and find him, and they have probably a little more money than Illinois, so they can throw some money at him and keep his contract very similar to what he was getting in Illinois as a defensive coordinator. They give him the title of co-defensive coordinator, even though he's not going to be calling plays or defensive plays. So it's kind of a win-win. And Aaron Henry beats the posse, because the reality is he was on, things were not great defensively, and there was definitely a situation where I think had they had another bad year, he was going to be gone. Even though he was, Bielema's buddy and they had a history together, I think he was gone. And then he did work with Chris Ash, previously, or played for Chris Ash previously. So this is it just makes sense there. Now Illinois got an opportunity there to possibly even upgrade as a play calling on the defensive side. So you always got to look at the positives when you have a situation like this.
Ked?
Well, here's my thing with this twofold answer. Mike, I agree with you. The bottom line is today's college athletics is different. They're going to have to pay somebody and get someone really good. You cannot be average now. The college game, the landscape is totally different than what it was just 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Even with players, I did a podcast on Ked's Recruiting Roundup with my friend Tom Kaker from a different network. He made the comment to me on my podcast. He wants to see players get 5 years, no matter how those 5 years are done. Because bottom line is right now we've seen people come back from the NBA. Hell, I think Michael Jordan's going to come back and play for North Carolina. I don't know, but my point is, to answer your question, if Illinois wants to be good, you mentioned Indiana, the money has to come somewhere. And I'm not going to make this about me being about money, but if you want to pay someone really good, you have to do it. As far as Aaron Henry is concerned, all these people out there, you need to own it. You wanted a defensive change. We've all done this podcast. Pre-game, post-game, halftime, everybody wanted this guy gone and fired for whatever reason. Hopefully the grass is going to be greener for the University of Illinois. I don't know. But it was a smart business decision for Aaron Henry. It was smart for the simple fact is, Brad is 100% right. If he had a mediocre year and a year where it didn't work out really well for him, Brett was going to have to, my opinion, was going to have to be forced to make a decision. It's good for him. Now it's time for the University of Illinois to go out and try to find someone. Can you find somebody really good who can recruit? Aaron Henry is a good recruiter. He has ties. Now, and I don't blame him for leaving Illinois for Notre Dame. Illinois fans, you don't want to hear this, or staff. It's a better program right now. Sorry to say that, but it is, and I don't blame the guy.
So, Steve, you're the guy who gets to try to put together all of the personnel evals. Is there any component of that, especially looking at the results of the portal so far, any results of that has anything to do with this, and your thoughts overall?
Yeah. So I think, the worrisome aspect that Brad and Ked were talking about is correct. Illinois did not have the portal season that they wanted to. I'm breaking down these guys kind of as we go through, and there's some talent to work with. There's some size and raw athletic ability to work with here, but especially in that defensive front five, it's going to be rough. And then to echo what Ked said, I think the thing is, like, we all remember that when Ryan Walters left, the key thing was we had to promote Aaron Henry because he was the guy recruiting all the stuff, all the guys in South Florida. And he was also kind of the key to all of our defensive backs. And those are kind of what's driving the defense. I'm worried about what's going to happen on both those fronts. I will say that there has been just an incredibly huge shift in college football recruiting since then, such that we now have just recruiting assistants. And it doesn't matter like it used to, where you used to have to hire this guy who's good at teaching the defensive line, but he also needs to be good at evaluating. He needs to be good in the living room, and that isn't true anymore. So we're not going to miss Aaron Henry as much on that score, I think. I am a little bit worried about how good of a coach he was in the defensive backfield. I'm not going to miss this. Does anybody remember what this is? That's all of our defensive backs looking at the sideline as the snap goes off, trying to figure out what's going on. That happened way too much. Even last year, it happened too much. So I'm not going to miss that part of it. But at the same time, I'm worried. Illinois fans should be worried. We lose Disher to Ohio State yesterday, and then we lose Aaron Henry today. It's we had built something that was pretty strong here. We ballyhooted a lot. It was the best 2 years in Illini football history, probably. And now we got, kicked in the shins a little bit in the portal and now in the coaching market. So we'll see what happens. I will say this as well. You're going to hear this a lot from me too. I don't know. Meaning, what is the new defensive coordinator going to bring? Because that will be under lock and key, and we're probably going to see something brand new when they take the field against East Carolina next year.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I wrote an article on heat checks and Hail Marys. The job that I would not want was Pat Embleton's job as GM, because you're trying to figure out what you spend. And we saw the market for defensive linemen go like this. And so guys that, you might, at the start of the portal season, you might have thought were at X, we're getting offers for 2X. And you've got to try to realign your money. And Illinois lost some guys who maybe weren't all-stars, but the foundation pieces, the guys that were there for reps, et cetera, are gone. I don't think it's easy. And I think on this one, even just what your budget is for a coaching staff. Brad, you look at Brett Bielema's reputation amongst college coaches. He's incredibly well connected. He's a part of the American, College Coaches Association. He's a big part of that. Do you think with the resurgence of Illinois, is this going to be a job that people look at and say, you know what, I'd like to coach defense up there? They've won 19 games over the last 2 years. How do you see this going for the search to replace Aaron Henry? Because if Brett does his job, they'll come out of this ahead.
I think they will. I think they will do well. I think that they're going to end up with a guy who has a lot of experience. I think that's going to be a change. Where they're going to get a guy who's got, a ton of experience as a defensive coordinator, or maybe even a head coach. An interesting name that has been thrown around a little bit is Justin Wilcox, who played defensive back at Oregon, and then has been defensive coordinator at Tennessee State or Tennessee, Washington, USC, and then Wisconsin before he became the head coach at Cal. So that might be an interesting name, but I think that's what you end up with. And obviously then you have a guy who has a ton of experience as a defensive play caller that can definitely, help this squad. Now I'm totally with you guys on the portal to a certain extent. Like, I love the offensive portal. I think they did a fantastic job on offense. I think their secondary is really good. And if Bierman is as good as they keep telling us he is, then we'll be fine at linebacker. But the edge, and even you can find nose tackles who can take up space, but the edge rushers, guys who can put pressure on the quarterback, they're going to need some help there. But maybe they have a guy who comes in who has connections to guys and can actually bring somebody in after the season. So, there's always that option too. So I think if they could get another 2 defensive linemen who can be solid, then I start feeling a lot better about this portal haul. Or maybe that kid who's the freak athlete they can coach him up and he becomes Gabe Bacchus. I don't know, which is saying a lot, but I think that's pretty. I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do here, but I think they could upgrade as a play caller, which may offset maybe what you don't have in talent.
I really think part of it was talent. I don't think Aaron Henry's as bad as we thought he was. Did he have flaws? We can all say that. I love Barry Lundy Jr. I don't think they threw the ball to the tight end very much. I didn't like that part of it. Everybody has flaws. Did he get better? Yes, I thought he did. This whole thing for me with him, and people are talking about money, from my understanding, is that he didn't get a pay raise to go to Notre Dame. Yeah, I don't think he did, to be honest with you. So, Illinois pays well. They do. But I think whoever Brett hires, he's going to hire a good coach. But I think right now you better build a guy who can get out and talk to kids. It's not, I don't know, you guys may disagree. It's not about building relationships anymore. It's about going out there, proving what you prove on the field, because the relationship part of it is about this green stuff, and it's going to the bank or getting a direct deposit into your checking account. That has replaced player relationships. The game has changed. It's no longer the same as what it once was. So to be able to go out to get kids, prove that you're going to be good. Players that I talk to from a recruiting standpoint, they want to be highlighted. They want to prove that they don't have to play zone coverage. They can go man to man and get to the league. That's what was Aaron Henry's selling point. So now that that's no longer there, I don't know what Brett Bielema was going to decide and what he's going to do. Having said that, the recruiting part of it, yes, no, but you have to be able to go out there to sell what you have. And again, money talks, and Illinois can't go backwards right now. They're not in a position to. Now what Indiana's doing what they're doing, I don't think Wisconsin's going to stay stagnant. I think they're going to eventually be better. Iowa's going to be who they are. Minnesota can bite you at any point in time. Is it going to be tough to compete with Indiana, Ohio State, Michigan year to year? Yes, but you can't go below that middle tier part. And that's going to depend, to me, who you hire and if you can develop. Some of these kids aren't going to be developed players, and this is what I agree with Steve about. Some of the players aren't good defensively, at least they haven't been. And if you think you're going to coach them up, as they say, which is a term I don't like, that's not going to work for every kid. Every kid that you have, there's a reason some of these kids are what they are defensively. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but there's a reason for it.
Yeah. Steve, you want to wrap this football segment up here?
Yeah. First of all, the numbers, I've been saying the same thing as Brad said. Really need 2 more guys on defensive line, 2. And I'm not saying that they have to be great. I'm not saying they have to be bad, but we are going to need more depth, and we're going to need more options for guys who, to be able to come forward. You need 6. You need 6 strong defensive linemen, and you need 4 outside linebackers. We don't have enough guys right now. I mean, I wouldn't care if we had a bunch of, returning All-American types. We probably would need some more guys. So there's that as far as next fall. And then as far as the coaching, I will disagree with Ked a little bit. I don't think keeping guys is going to matter as far as the building relationships. But, we've all coached. You have to build a relationship with the players. They're just not going to listen to you as well. They're not going to try as hard. They're not going to be as happy. You got to build, try to build a collegial, friendly and team building atmosphere. So it matters. But, at the end of the day, I think this portal season has definitely shown that, like, all the family stuff we've seen, which is probably true, isn't going to keep our team together. So there's that. So I'm sorry to be doom and gloom, but I will sign off and let you guys talk about the happy sport for now. Go online.
Very good. Thank you, Steve.
See you guys.
So we had, like I said, we've got opportunities. To me, I look at it as Aaron Henry was not the cause of every Illini ill, and there was a group of people that seemed to believe that. And then the other part is Brett Bielema's got an opportunity to get this team better. And so he has a lot of connections in the coaching world. Let's see what he comes up with. Let's go into the game today, Brad. You wrote a preview for this game. We've got an opportunity for Illinois to go into a tie for the Big Ten, lead. What are your keys? What are you looking for this game against the Nebraska team that's very tough at home? And they've already beaten Illinois in Champaign. What are you looking for?
Well, I think that it was interesting. When you see, you don't really realize it until you watch them on film, because I don't think it's live. This team's really, really physical. They're more physical than any team Illinois played this year. Okay. Because of how hard they cut, because of how hard they screen, all those things that happen. And they do all those things that kind of little things, I guess. And it really, it was a kind of a shock to the system for Illinois when they played them the first time. How hard they played and how hard they cut and how hard they screened it. And I think Illinois is going to have to adjust to that. And they know now. Both teams are going to shoot the three. They love to shoot the three. So what's going to happen is the team that makes most threes has a great advantage. But the one thing that Illinois does is chase down those threes extremely well. They got to get more out of Tommy and Z. Last time, Tommy and Z looked like they were in a rinse cycle, turning, spinning, and switches and couldn't contest things. And they also didn't contribute on the offensive side of the ball either. So that's a bad combination, right? And then I think also, just the conditioning part of it, because when you are guarding Price Sanford, you've got to run him all over. You got to chase him all over the court. And so you got to have communication and understand. And it's there were spots on film when you rewatch this where Illinois would leave Sanford to help. You saw which you can't do. There were also times on film when they would just get caught in switches and one of them the guy'd get a wide open layup, if you remember that first time. So so the communication issue is a really big part of this. And then the other thing is don't turn the ball over, because Nebraska, they forced 19 turnovers by Michigan the other day. Now Michigan beat them, but Michigan turned the ball over at a very high rate. So you can't turn the ball. Illinois hasn't done that really in any game this year, and they didn't do it last time, but they're going to shoot gaps. What they do is they love to trap people. And then play zone behind. They post trap. They'll come and help, and they'll make you throw to the weak side. They really want to get strong side help and get over there. And that's why you saw, like the other day against Michigan, when Hoiberg draws the charge that was the phantom charge, right? They didn't call anything. And you have that was because they were over-rotated, and he had to come back to the weak side. So these are little things that I think will that you watch as the game goes on. But at the end of the day, Illinois got to compete. And if they compete, they have a great opportunity to get a win on the road against a team that I don't think is 100%. I don't think Mass is 100%, and obviously neither is Rager.
Well, I'm going to start with this. The one thing I don't want to see high knees out there. Let's start with that, because I'm sorry. Even though last week, believe it or not, he did the Purdue
We didn't
game.
even get through the pregame without getting mad at referees.
All over already.
Hey, he did the Purdue game last week, and I'm going to tell you didn't notice he was there, because he did a really good job last week. But anyway, I think defensively.
We don't. Paul Zelk, Doug Simons, and Michael Reed. Sorry.
Today? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Brad. Now I can relax. I think last time defensively they made too many mistakes. They just really did. They made a lot of mistakes defensively, and Brad said that. And we all shared group texts and stuff. I know I sent out to you guys about the person who was just lost defensively. Coach Underwood said it yesterday or 2 days ago during his press conference. They're not the same team. They're going to have to pay attention to what they do on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to have to execute. And I'm going to tell you, Nebraska's tough. My concern is how Illinois is going to guard them, because Fred is a masterful coach of the X's and O's. I mean, they do a lot of action where you think the ball is going to be a three, then they slip and you get a wide open layup. Now, I'm going to watch this. For the last few games, I've watched Nebraska. Right away, they have a set play and they get a layup out of the game. Because this is a game that's really mattered. So I've gone back and I've watched that. I'm going to see how Illinois defends that, or if they've seen that at all or not. This is a game that Illinois can win, but they have to guard like they've never guarded before. Brad, you're right. Illinois doesn't turn the ball over a lot, and I don't expect to see a lot of that. I'm really curious to see how they try to defend Keaton Wagler. According to Fred Hoiberg, and he's right, everybody's throwing everything at him. Pick your poison. You double him. There's enough guys that Illinois has to make you pay. So if they're making shots and they can defend, keep the crowd out of it. Don't give them in a situation where there are questionable calls, then you can win the game. I do think the injury thing, I've not seen the injury report yet. Maybe you guys have. I should have looked at it. I know better, but maybe all the guys are playing, but they're not going to want to miss this game. This game matters. And whoever wins this game, to me, has a huge leg. And if Illinois wins it, I'll put it this way. Because they lost at home to Nebraska, they went to Purdue and won, and a lot of people don't win there. I think Illinois put themselves in a really good position to really contend for the title. Yes, they go to Michigan State. That's a tough game. But if you can win at Nebraska, eliminate that loss and win at Purdue, this game is huge on so many levels. And I think Illinois is a better team, but today it has to be one of the better games.
Brad, two questions for you. One is, it seems like Hoiberg has been, in my opinion, astutely working the refs already, talking about the problems with the refereeing. I'll be honest with you, that was clearly a charge at Michigan that didn't get called.
Yes.
So I think he's done a pretty good thing of going public on that. Second thing is, I'm worried personally about, and you mentioned it, Brad, these guys cut to the basket harder than any team I've seen. What is Illinois going to do to try to offset that? Because between the referees looking for a foul because they figure they got to make something up from last time, and then the way these guys cut to the basket, those are the two things that make me a little nervous.
Really have to communicate well defensively against Nebraska. You have to talk well. I don't think there's going to be – they switched so much against Nebraska last time, and that really caused problems. I don't think they're going to switch quite as much. Still going to see a lot of small-on-small switches, but you're going to see more kind of hedging, recovering. I think the other thing you do against Nebraska here is they probably set more off-ball screens than a lot of teams, because Illinois sets a lot of ball screens, but Nebraska has a lot of off-ball screens. So I think what you're going to see is there got to be some defenders have to be in the gap so that they can at least show against that shooter on the pick and pop. And so it should be a lot of fun game. I think it's going to be a little bit of a chess match. How do you defend? What adjustments do you make? Illinois has worked on different types of defenses against them, how they're going to defend it, different guys. There might be, and this is the hard part. This is why some guys have trouble, even though they're very talented. There might be 3 different ball screen coverages they're going to use depending on who's setting the screen and who's the guy coming off the screen. So you gotta, it's just one of those things where you have to make that. You're going to have to communicate and make the right call there, and communicate.
Well, Mike, I want to throw a tidbit into that. Brad's right. They really, really cut hard. And I think they have to be in coverage. And what's hard about today, all these array winners are allowed. Purdue was lost. But communication is huge. You have to talk. I remember David Merkovic talked about when Colin Boswell went out, that was one of the big things, is that they're going to miss and lose some of that communication. Whoever it comes from, and I think, to be honest with you, Tommy's done a really good job of that. I mean, he really does. Being vocal to guys to make sure that they understand. And I will say something else, and I'm joking about the officials. I know people are making comments, and I'm just being sarcastic. But the bottom line is, I don't want to see them, be a factor in the game. If it happens, it happens. But I just want to see a good basketball game. And it's going to be a chess match. And it's another good opportunity for Illinois to be on the big stage and showcase what they can do.
Yeah, and I think, sometimes the refs, you just got to get their attention, make them an offer they can't refuse. One thing, I guess, too, everybody knows Keaton Wagler is the key to Illinois. Brad, who's that second player that you think, really needs to have a good game? Because I'm no longer going to say Keaton can't win it by himself, because we saw Purdue. but so who's the other guy that really, needs to have a good game against a very formidable, nobody thought they were going to be this good, Nebraska team that Fred Hoiberg is proving that while he may not have been the greatest coach of the Bulls, you get this guy on a college court and he's pretty darn tough.
Yeah, I think it's Merkovic. Merkovic has to be good. I think the games he's struggled, whether it's UConn or Nebraska, a little bit against Alabama, he had a double-double, but he was not efficient. And you look at, if you look at it, when he has an offensive rating above 100, the Illinois is 16-0. When it's below 100, they're 2-3. Their only wins are Minnesota and Texas Tech, and so they got really good performances from other guys in those games. But I think Merkovic is the guy, and when he's good, they're good.
All right, Brad's the analytical guy. I'm the eyeball test guy. I'm going to go a different route. I'm going to agree with our bestie, St. Dominic Rosary. I think it's going to be Andrei Stojakovic. He's ever since the Maryland game, he's not been the same. He needs to be a difference maker. And I'm not going to say he needs to earn his money because that's whatever, but they need him to be really good again. They need him to step up and be a difference maker because he drives, he gets them in foul trouble. And I think David is just so underrated, David. He's so underrated because of all the other freshmen. This guy's having an outstanding freshman year. I expect him to do well today. He has raised his game to a totally different level since Kylan's been out, but they really need Andre. And in his body language, you can tell he's frustrated. Teams are guarding him different. And if he's not making threes like he did against Maryland, he was able to get to the basket after that. If he's not making threes, he has to find other ways to score. Teams are blocking his shot now. He's not drawing contact. That's what Brad Underwood says, scouting report. That's teams are defending that and they're taking that away from him. No matter what happens, it has to be, whether it's David, Ben Humrickhouse, they better have three guys, minimum three guys with 12 or more points to have a chance to win this game today. You know, I'm going back to the old Michael Jordan's comment. You have to have three guys to win a national championship or win or an NBA title or to be really good. They have to have that today. One or two guys is not going to get it done. Not at this arena, not at this stage of the season.
Brad, is there anything they can do to get Stojakovic started off and feeling good? Because certainly when he is clicking, this is a different Illini team.
Yeah, I could see them doing some things where they run a Nebraska. The problem you have is you can't like run an ISO because they'll run a double, and then he's got to pass the ball, and he's not a good passer. I mean, that's just it's just reality.
He doesn't like to pass either.
I think that he doesn't. I think that one thing you do is you get him out in transition early. You notice when he can get out in transition once or twice in the first half, and I know they like to play a slower pace now because they're so efficient. But get him out in transition and get him the ball and let him go one-on-one, one-on-two kind of action where there's no help. And I think that will get him going a little bit. He's going to get open shots, so from three, they're not going to defend the three. So, but I think just having him, and another option might be against Nebraska is a cutter.
Yes.
Use him as a cutter. Cut him down the middle. When they come and double, have him be the cutter coming down through the paint and dump it off. Let him finish at the rim. And then it's kind of, you feel good. You know how that is, you get one go at the rim and then shoot. Now 3-pointers look easy.
Ked, anything you might do?
Well, to me, if you're talking about getting Andre involved, I'm spreading the floor and getting him to the basket. Getting him involved early. He has to see some success. Mike, you said at the last podcast, I don't know if you remember it all or not, you said that. Get him going early, whether it be to the free throw line, something to get him going, whether it be an ISO, because and his three-point shooting has not looked the same since the Maryland game. I don't know why he went back to the old ways, but somehow you have to get him an easy look and get him going. Get him in, 2 or 3 points early. I think the other players are going to be fine. I really and truly do believe that. They know what's at stake here. And this is a great game. This game wouldn't matter as much if you would have won at home. But this game really, really matters on so many levels. Sorry, Mike.
No, I get it. Is there anything going on do we know anything, Tomislav, up and down? Any thoughts on how he's going to play today for the Illini?
Mike, if you know that, you should be you should be a millionaire.
Therapist or something.
I don't know. I'm not sure if anybody knows, but no, I think Tommy's going to play hard. He's going to rebound. The hardest part he has on the defensive end, he and Z are not set up to defend. And we've talked about this. I started talking about this after the Alabama game, and you've seen it. They struggle to defend teams that play 5 out, and it makes it really hard. Now, teams that play more of a traditional big in the post, they're much better against defensively. So it doesn't mean they can't beat them, but it just makes it harder. And with Mass playing, then they play 5 out and they have all the cutters. But I think they'll still play a little bit of drop coverage, which really fits Tommy and Z much better. They can defend the rim, and it's a better way to play. So maybe that's it. Play some drop, and he'll be much better because last year they played all drop coverage, and so it was much easier. So.
Yeah.
Well, and if they're not making threes, that's going to be to Illinois' advantage. I do think Z is a much better perimeter defense than Tommy. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but if Nebraska, because they can shoot the ball so well, the block shots may not be there for Z like they have in the past, because he's really, really good at, changing, the opposing team's shot attempts, because they know when he's down there, they're going to look the other way. This is really cliche to say, the X's and O's and who makes adjustments could be another factor. Because I'm going to tell you, you're going to see different sets from Nebraska. I can assure you. But when we get on at halftime, that's something that we're going to talk about. And I hope Illinois does some things different too. I know defensively they're going to. We all know that's going to happen. But it's an X's and O's chess match.
Yeah, and we're seeing Tyler Underwood starting to do different things in games. I thought Illinois was – and Brad, you can comment on this, but I thought Illinois was very adaptable in the second half against Purdue.
Hey, Brad, before you comment, let me tell you this. How about Fred Hoiberg? If you guys didn't hear the press conference, he talked about Tyler Underwood. He mentioned Tyler Underwood and his offensive ability and how good of a job he's done. So for all the haters out there who don't like him because his dad's the coach, Fred gave him credit, and he knows how good of an offensive coach he is. Sorry, Bradley.
No, I totally agree. I think the one thing you see is also Tyler does a really good job. But I think having a guy like Wagler who always makes the right decisions makes you look so good. And I'm going to give a shout out. Can I give a shout out here?
Yep.
Because we talked about this. I was talking a little bit with the Illinois coaching staff. Do you realize what a selfless dude Kylan Boswell is? Okay. This guy came in last year as a junior point guard, comes to Illinois, and he has to defer early in the season to KJ. He lets KJ cook. When KJ struggles, then Kylan at the end of the year, he stepped up and he was so much better and more assertive. It's because he let the potential lottery pick play a little more, right? I mean, just let him kind of go. This season, there have been multiple games this year where they have called plays for Kylan Boswell, and he has said no. Give it to Wagler. Give it to Stojakovic because they're cooking. Let them cook. I don't need to be a guy who gets the ball. I don't have to be that guy. And that is like a big part of why Keaton Wagler is so good. And that's a big part of why, Will Riley and KJ got noticed last year. He defers and he allows those guys to be successful because he wants to win more than he wants to get his own numbers. And I'm telling you, that's special from a guy who's a senior who could have just said, no, I want the ball more. I want this. And he didn't. He said, I want to win. And
I want to add I'm sorry.
So that's it. That's my shout out. There you go.
I want to add to that. I have a really good relationship with his father, Brandon. And what Brad said is 100% right. It's not fake. When I talk to him, when things are going good, things are bad, it is always about the team. They're happy to be home. When Illinois got him out of the transfer portal, they talked about what it was going to be like for him. And Brandon mentioned to me everything that they said was true. I don't think they regret going to Arizona, but they knew Illinois 4 years, years ago could have been a better place for him. They do. When I mentioned the fact of how he's doing with his surgery and blah, 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 it was about the team. It is the reason Kylan is that way. It comes from home. Brad, you and I both know this doesn't happen, and Mike, you too as well. This doesn't always happen. You can have a bunch of parents out there who are cancerous and selfish. I have a parent playing right now who I know playing at the Division I level, and he made a comment to me just 2 days ago. He doesn't care if his team wins as long as his son does. As long as his son does well and he gets to the next level. That is not what you're getting from Keaton Wagler. And I'm telling you, on a Sunday, on whatever, this dad doesn't care about his team winning as long as his son gets there. So having a guy like Kylan Boswell who's bought in, and a guy like Keaton Wagler, his dad's the same way. You can try to bait them in all kind of questions. They're even kill people, even his coach. They're special players, and to get those kids right now, it's great for a coach because now you don't have to deal with all the drama. Coach Underwood isn't dealing with that right now. He's really not, and that's a blessing because in years past, some parents do make it tough.
Yeah, and that goes back to the saying, the rising tide lifts all boats. And so when you have parents who are that way, you get kids who have good priorities on the court, which makes it easier to coach. Brad, we go into this, we're about ready, about 3 minutes away from tip here. what was your prediction, or what is your prediction for this game, which is obviously one of the most critical games Illinois has played in a while?
Well, I like Illinois in this one just because I think that they are going to come out and play well. They've been fantastic on the road, and I don't think Nebraska is 100%. I think they're a little bit not that great, dinged up and sick, and Mass was in the ER and getting IVs and stuff like that. So, So I think that's my prediction. But I think it's going to be a close game. But we've seen Illinois has made plays down the stretch repeatedly. And I think they do it again today.
Kid?
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I think Illinois won 10 games.
Here we go.
No, I'm being honest with you. They've won 10 games, man. And
the officials are going to screw us, and we got no chance.
I'm not even talking about the officials. I just think right now Nebraska got beat, and Illinois is going to play great. I'm not worried about that. I just see Nebraska being at home. Everything points to them, and it's not the end of the world if they do decide to lose. If they do lose.
So it's going to be like the Purdue game. Purdue is coming off a loss.
No, because I know that didn't matter. But I'm just saying, because it doesn't. It doesn't matter, but it does. It does. Purdue, and listen, Purdue's playing. Nebraska's playing better right now, fellas. Let's call a spade a spade. I just don't see Illinois winning because I'm going to take my orange shades off. And at the end of when this is over, we're going to see which one of us is right. Do I want Illinois to win? You betcha. Because Nebraska thinks that they're about to win a national title, and this is a team that has never won a tournament game, mind you. But I love Fred. I think he's a good guy. But I just think right now, looking at this whole big picture, it's not the end of the world if Illinois loses. I just want them to play well.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a game where like Nebraska is overwhelmed because of the moment. It's first top 10 matchup ever at Nebraska. First time they've ever had two tops, because Nebraska's rarely been in the top 10, right?
Yeah.
So, but I do think, I don't disagree with you, Ked. I think Nebraska could win just as well as Illinois could. I totally agree. My thing about Nebraska is sometimes when you lose guys, you come out that first game after they're gone and you're just fantastic. You play better than you can play, and so forth. And I think now they're in a situation where if Mast and Frager are not playing up to 100%, I do think that will impact this game more than it did, say, against Michigan. So, but if they are, then I may change my pick, but I'm thinking they're not.
Yep. So, folks, we will be back at the half. So tune back in, same channel, everything else. We will be here at the half. Until then, folks,